Yo, what's up world? What's up Facebook? What's up YouTube? What's up every social media or human mind or soul that is reached by my videos. Making a wait what video this evening, and it shouldn't be too long. So I was listening to the radio today, and I hear a commercial come on, and it is a very oddly, it's like a masculine, like advertising voice or whatever, and the guy goes, he starts telling a story about a child named Zion, and he says Zion is 5 years old, and last year he had to go. Now, if I misquote this commercial, please forgive me, because I don't remember it exactly. But in the commercial, they go, Zion, last year or whatever, Zion had to go to the hospital 5 times or 3 times because of heat strokes. Okay, so I guess they're referring to America. I guess they're referring to the United States of America. I don't know exactly, but that's my assumption. And so right off the bat, in terms of witchcraft, you know right away it's a guilt trip. The guy is guilt tripping you about something that happened to a child. And from my experience, from my childhood, coming from me being a child who almost drowned when I was 5 or 6, and I had brain surgery from a skateboarding accident before 7th grade. So I had plenty of childhood trauma. Now I wasn't poor, or I wasn't like in the ghetto as a child, and I wasn't like raped as a child, or did I even have, I had a very traditional and provided for family life. I had, my dad was military, my mom was educated, and she also worked, and I was always provided for. And there's a whole different side of my life that would be like a psychology sit down type of thing, but I'm not going to get into that, because I'm not going to sit here and point the finger. I wasn't, but in terms of like violence and okay, I take that back. Violence was my young adult life, but in terms of like trauma, like medical trauma as a child, I had my fair share. I had, like I said, I fractured my skull skateboarding before 7th grade, and had bleeding on the brain, and had to go into the ICU because I would have died in a couple days if it wasn't for the brain surgery, because the blood in your brain travels back to your medulla oblongata and kills you. So, excuse me. So I'm not gonna allow people to pity party me, or people searching for sympathy or empathy, or searching for sympathy or guilt trips. So in the commercial, it goes, Zion is a 5-year-old child who had to go to the hospital because of heat strokes 2 times last year, or 3 times last year. Okay, so in terms of witchcraft, right off the bat, it's a guilt trip, and it brings up a few more questions. Okay, so the child is Zion. He's 5 years old, according to this commercial. And okay, so the first thing you need to think of in terms of children and childhood trauma and childhood guilt trips, so on and so forth, is who is the mother? Who is the parents? Because if the mother is a witch, or the father is a witch, there's a high chance that they are intentionally putting their child into suffering. Or, now I'm not saying all witches try to make their children suffer, or all witches do that, because I've seen 2 types of witchcraft in terms of children, and I'm not a witch, and I've never had children, so I can't say I know either. The main 2 that I can think of off the top of my head right now is they either 3. They've either stopped the witchcraft themselves and they're trying to get, or they're not, and this is in terms of witchcraft, not Christians, they're either stopped the witchcraft themselves and they're trying to have the child live a godly life like theirs, or they've gone into some type of psychosis where they're trying to make the child suffer and sacrifice, likely be sacrificed, likely for the kingdom of Satan, or for some type of monetary or sexual gain. So I've seen, now I don't want, now I'll make this into a witchcraft video another time because it's about the commercial. So, and the other type is that they indulge their children like they're an extension of themselves into full selfish and filthy gains through witchcraft, at which point the child is treated, they have a good life because their parent, whatever type of witch they are, has gained a good life through witchcraft, through Satanism, and they want their children to have a good life themselves through Satanism and through witchcraft, and so they're teaching their children at the very earliest age how to use Satan and how to do deals with the devil to make their life good. Now, the lifestyle that I would support and recommend would be a Christ-centered, life-fearing God-centered lifestyle where the child and the parents fear God, they avoid evil, and they rebuke Satan, and they work and they trust God for what they want and need. And now, in this commercial, like I said, it starts off with a guilt trip. It talks about a childhood who has trauma. A child who's having trauma. It talks about some type of suffering he's having at a young age. So right off the bat, you need to be aware you're being guilt tripped. In case you hear this commercial, you're being guilt tripped. Why would you be going through your day and all of a sudden feel guilty about a child who's suffering? You should feel guilty about your children if they're suffering when they're at an age of 5, or you should feel concerned about your children, or you should want to help your children at an age if they're suffering at age 5. If you have a radio, which is a piece of technology, which some people say is originally a tool of Satan, but remember, God can take all things from the devil and make them good. And I don't know exactly if that's scriptural, but I've lived by that principle and I believe it. All good things come from God. So you can't wake up. I wouldn't want to put myself through the suffering of waking up one day and saying, oh, my car is from Satan. Oh, my cell phone is from Satan. No, I appreciate good things, and I appreciate good things, and I appreciate good things, and I have good things in my life. Now, if you choose to go out and live, anyways, this is a whole nother, it's getting off topic. I'll bring up those topics another time. So that being said, and then at the second, so this, now for the sake of the commercial, I'll try to repeat the whole commercial as it is, so no one is confused or confused. The commercial goes as so. It says, oh, Zion, it goes, hello. Zion is a child, that 5-year-old child who had to go to the hospital for guilt trips, hello, Zion is a 5-year-old child who had to go to the hospital 3 times last year for heat strokes. And then the commercial pauses, and he goes, and he mentions an oil company. I don't remember which one, but he goes, and this oil company profited $5 billion last year. And then it goes, greed is ruining this country. It says corporate, I think it says corporate, it either says oil company greed or big corporation greed is ruining this company, and da-da-da-da-da. Now, I don't know if the motive of what exactly the motive of the commercial was, you know, and I really don't. But my guess in what I felt like it was intended to do was make me feel guilty about a child that had to go to the hospital, supposedly had to go to the hospital 3 times or 2 times last year because of heat stroke, and then blame it on oil companies who made $3 billion of oil profits last year, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, and is a complete... Now, if this was some type of ploy from the government or from Las Vegas, wherever the ad came from, then to get me to hand over the money from an evil company to the righteous, then I commend them. And I heard the message, and I will pray that that happens. But if it was the opposite, then it is a joke, and it's insulting for this reason. Like I said, it starts off with a guilt trip, which is never a good thing. If you're ever faced with a guilt trip, return it to the people sending it to you. Return it to the people sending it to you. And that being said, the next thing is it's a child, right? Which is like the key point of the guilt trip. And also they use the word Zion. And all this is assuming it wasn't my first guess at what it was. And they use the word Zion, which is a godly word, right? So it's tying into your God conscience too. So my guess is if this Zion person is a real person, their mother's probably a witch. Their mother is probably, or someone around them is putting some serious witchcraft on that child to the point where they are suffering heat strokes. I'm guessing for either a sexual gain, a monetary gain, or some type of satanic gain. So, that being said, how and why would we blame the oil companies for this? Why would we blame the oil companies? Now, if the oil companies are selfish and greedy and their money needs to be handed over to the righteous people in the United States or whatever country that they're stealing from, then I agree with that. But it isn't that I think there shouldn't be any oil companies, or that the oil, it's if they're taking too much money to the point where, like, if oil companies make a lot of money and they provide us gasoline and fuel for our cars and that's their niche, more power to them. Just like designers and car. I mean, I'm not against people making money. I'm not against people having good ideas and making billions of dollars because they have good ideas or good businesses. Now, corporate greed is different. And if these oil companies are unrighteously profiting off the customers, then yes, I agree that a portion of their profits or of their money, a portion of their profits or of their money, should be handed over to the consumer, not by means of a tax write-off or by, a check in the mail. That would be too easy for them to scam somehow or to flip back onto themselves. It would have to be by godly means. So basically, by prayer, and excuse me for eating, I'm sorry. by prayer and by spiritual means that this that the money is the wealth, the spirit of the wealth and the money is handed over to the consumer. And it doesn't mean that they're gonna, because I don't want the oil companies to go broke and have no more oil and gas for our cars, but you have to look at it for what it really is and see, hey, we're the consumer, we're the one driving the cars, we're the one buying the oil at the end of the day. So, but anyways, this is the end of my Wait What video. It's a quick video, and it is about you know, this commercial that talks about this child who's apparently suffering from witchcraft, either by his mother or someone else around him, and then blaming the oil companies, which makes absolutely no sense. The solution to this would be it's two separate issues altogether. Finding the source of the witchcraft and whether or not the children is aware of it, and eliminating that if it's the will of all involved parties, and or at least the child, saving the child from the witchcraft. And the second one, it would be a prayer for the wealth of the wicked to be handed over to the righteous, and then acknowledging the fact that we are the consumers, and we're partly responsible for that. We're partly responsible for the fact that these companies are making that much money, and partly responsible for the fact that we buy oil every day and we drive our cars that much, when in reality, at the very root of life, we would be at a farm where we have water and food that we grow ourselves, and we wouldn't travel. That would be our life. It wouldn't be driving all across and here and there and going to work and earning money to get food and water. So, wait, what?